listening to Peak One Sports.
All right. What is up, Peak One Nation? I am Dan Boyer, a.k.a. Neon Super Shrimp, joined by... I always do it on the wrong side. I don't know why. Ashton Nix. They're always on my left.
Oh, yeah. It's backwards, isn't it?
Right? Yeah.
You're over there. Yeah. That's why
Whatever.
you do it backwards. Yeah, I feel a little out of my element today. I'm in a hotel room in San Antonio and don't have my lights or my correct mic, and I just feel completely off tonight, so forgive me.
Yeah. No, the last few weeks I've been kind of roughing it with my girlfriend's laptop, and I guess it's mostly just me being lazy, and I don't feel like logging in and out of like all of her stuff to log into my stuff and whatever. So
Mavericks up, by the way,
a little more limited in my usual abilities to research and keep up with everything going on. But I appreciate the shout out, Fun Football Podcast.
It is a drag to prepare for something like this. I know a lot of people get bold on Facebook and social media in general to question our opinions, which is fine. It's just sports. Who cares? But try coming on a podcast and talking intelligibly about a sports topic for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, however long
for
we
an
talk
hour.
about this.
Yeah.
It's I'm not trying to say we're better than any other people, but anytime I've ever been criticized on social media, I was like, come on our show, let's talk about it. And
oh yeah, for sure.
I have yet to have an acceptance to that invitation.
Yeah. I think I had this conversation with you at one point, and it was like when I first started getting involved with Peak One and everything, I was like, man, I knew how much work was involved with like doing all of this stuff, the research and being prepared and all that stuff. And man, it turned out to be even more work than I was expecting. Like it takes a lot of effort to really kind of keep up with a lot of all the different goings on in the kind of sports world. Even if you're
especially
just
doing
like
it on your own,
stuff,
it's easier to talk on a show with somebody, converse, but you've done it a few times by yourself, and it's not easy. Yeah, no.
I mean, it's definitely more fun when you have people to talk to and bounce the ideas off of and everything. But so glad you're here. Chris may join us later. Ross also, I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. But you know what, Ashton, you're enough for me, buddy. And that's all.
I'm glad to hear that. I've missed the last couple of weeks from sickness to
it's a little
date
out of season. But to quote
a lot
Frosty,
of stuff,
even one friend is enough.
Yeah.
But we'll get into most of the usual stuff we've been talking about for the last few weeks. Mavericks and Stars are still on their playoff runs. In fact, the Mavs are playing now.
They keep going.
Minnesota as best as they can. Stars also get ready for their game one tomorrow. Rangers doing all right. And we'll talk about the Logan Paul, Mike Tyson presser that happened last Thursday a little bit, just because I think that's going to be pretty entertaining. But before we get there, let's shout out these sponsors and partners of ours. Say goodbye to unruly behavior and hello to a well-mannered pup. The Dapper Dog Academy stands out as a top-notch canine training institute located right here in Cleburne, Texas, and serving the DFW Metroplex. Owner-trainer Korri Bennett has nearly 10 years' experience helping your canine companions become the best versions of themselves. With personalized training programs tailored to suit your pup's unique personal needs, Korri is committed to helping your pet reach their full potential. Contact Korri and the Dapper Dog Academy on Facebook and schedule your consultation today. Ashton, where do you get your betting advice?
I try not to use my gut because that's usually a bad.
My gut's never right.
Yeah, it's never good, especially since I don't have that much experience in the sports gambling realm. Don't bet with your gut. Check out Betalytics and get help making your picks using their AI algorithms, and use promo code PEAK1. Get 25% off when you sign up today. Go to Betalytics.com to start betting smarter.
All right.
What are you drinking over there? I heard the can go.
Yeah, I started doing. Here we go. I started adding just a few cubes of ice to my Dubby. and it makes it awesome, man. It gets it like all nice and super cold. Like, it's awesome. Like, and to be honest, one of my issues with these energy drinks like this in the powder form is like I'm not a huge fan. They don't usually dissolve very well. This one actually dissolves better than most of the other ones I've tried. But if you're looking for a superior energy drink to replace those inferior caffeinated beverages, Dubby contains 0 maltodextrin, 0 fillers, 0 artificial colors and dyes, and 0 proprietary blends. It's the coffee fruit extract that's the star of this beverage, helping you focus and energize without the jitters or crash. Order Dubby today using code PEAK1 and enjoy 10% off your order. So this week I'm actually trying like my last little flavor here. It's this Beach and Peach, which honestly reminded me. Did you see the Barbie movie?
I have not seen the Barbie movie.
I will beat you off right here.
I mean, it's not a political statement. I just haven't seen the movie yet. I have.
No, it's actually it's in the movie. They have this scene, and it's like Ken's job is beach. Like that's what Ken does. Ken does beach, and then they get into an argument with a couple of Kens, and they're like, I will beat you off right here in front of everybody. Like,
I mean, I have 2 kids. I have 2 kids, an 11-year-old and a 6-year-old boy, both boys. Tell me why would I go see that movie?
Honestly, it's pretty funny. It gets kind of serious at the end, and it does have like a good like message or whatever. But as far as like movies go and everything, it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I definitely didn't go see it in theaters. I think I saw it maybe close to like a year after it came out, and it was on HBO. Korri and I watched it, and honestly, it's pretty funny. Ken is kind of my favorite character just because he's so stupid and hilarious. But it's a pretty good movie. If you haven't seen it, like you want like a date night fun movie for you and the wife, check it out. It's totally worth watching. It's funny. It's a good time.
I feel like I need to say this too. If you notice that I am drinking this beer, second time tonight already. I'm not making a political statement. This is just what my favorite driver brought me. Just so we're clear, they didn't have what I ordered. This is what they brought. I know you don't care, but people get political, even though this isn't a political show.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I'm not making any sort of statement.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I'm just drinking vodka here. Oh, there it is. I think it's just Tito's.
And that's, I have some Tito's vodka, and that's, I mean, how would you be drinking whiskey right now if I was home? But again, I'm out of my element, so I'm going to be off tonight. It's just weird. I have too much space in here.
No, it's fine. We'll have some fun with it. This is the right time to be doing it. The Mavs game is on right now. They're competing to keep up with it. They're doing a good job. I said this to y'all in our group text, watching Game 6 versus OKC. It's not how you start. It's definitely how you finish. And I mean, the Mavs were down that whole game and managed to pull out the win.
Dude, what a game!
I guess with that game going on, we can go ahead and just talk Mavs in that Game 6 too. So
yeah, it's hard when we do. I mean, I know we do multiple shows on this network. It's hard to keep track of what days we do what and trying not to talk about common things. But this is the first show I've been on and you've been on since the Mavericks clinched a spot in the Western Conference Finals. Because I know we had a Saturday morning show, but that happened later that night. Man, what a game! Just a great comeback.
It really was an amazing game. I literally watched that whole game, first quarter through the fourth, and I mean the Mavs were down. I think they got the lead once in the first half, and it was in it might have even been in like the first quarter, and then in the second half they managed to get the lead once or twice, and then at the end, man, what a battle! And PJ Washington coming through, having not scored any points. I mean, he had been great for us in that series. Scored 20 plus points in like 3 or 4 of the games. Just really knockout. Extra man for us, and that's what we're going to need in this series against Minnesota. But for him to like come through the way he did in that fourth quarter, had no points up to that point, and then he knocked down a couple of threes, and then he got that final fouled 3 at the end of it, and knocked down the first 2 free throws, and then intentionally missed. I think they did that just to try and run off the clock, make it a harder rebound, a harder shot attempt with that what is like 2.5 seconds left or something.
Yeah.
So, but they had no timeout, so they weren't going to advance the ball. But yeah, what an incredible game! Because I mean, just to stay like tenacious, to stay in the fight like that, to keep yourself within just a few scores, a few possessions.
Just stay in the game, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, it would have been easy at a few different points in like the third quarter, fourth quarter, for them to have just kind of like let off and been like, well, we'll get them in game 7, but to like really just hang in there and stay with it. Wow, it was amazing. It was really good.
And shout out to Kyrie.
Yes.
Well, here, let's get to Kenny.
I want to talk about
Kenny, yeah, we talked about that on the leadoff. That the Cowboys have not. I mean, the Cowboys just aren't keeping up with the other teams. And yeah, Korri, I'm talking. Calm down, relax, man.
I know I talk a lot.
I know a lot of people are here for me, but we gotta. No, Kenny. We may like to make fun of the Cowboys, and outside of the Rangers, the Stars, the Mavericks have all been in conference championship games in the last 2 years, not to mention multiples in the last few years. And the Cowboys haven't been to one in, would you say, 28 years? Is that correct? I think it's almost 30 years by now. But yeah, we're Cowboys fans here, and yeah, if you meet a true Cowboys fan, they're going to dog on their team. If they're going to be a homer, they're not a real Cowboys fan. And I don't know if you're trying to suck up Kenny, but I don't think the Mavericks are going to win the series in 5. I have them winning in 7, but I think it's going to be a really good series. If they win in 5, I know we just made a college basketball bet. I don't know if it really counts as a bet, but I'll tell you, if they win in 5, I'll buy you a Mavericks jersey and ship it to you, and you have to wear it. I know you're a
what do you
fan, right?
You don't.
But yeah, Mavs are going to win in 7. 6,
I agree.
We'll see how game 1 goes.
I agree. To be honest, the way the series with Denver just went, I would fully expect this to go a 7 game series. And man, to be honest, I'd like to look at the numbers, and I'd have to check and see it what it is, but it feels like between hockey and basketball this year, we've had a lot of game 7s so far. And I think we're in store for more. So, I mean, buckle up.
The next like 14 days, every single day, it's Mavs Stars, Mavs Stars, Mavs Stars.
Oh,
we're gonna have a really busy day, social media wise. Yeah, we have this show, the leadoff. We talk about local sports. I know. Shut the Puck Up hockey podcast that was on earlier tonight, and they're going to talk about the Stars a lot. We're going to be talking a lot, and I'm thankful that these games are starting at 7:30 now, not 9:30 anymore. I'm talking because it was the Stars double overtime game. I was up till 1:30 Central time.
Yeah,
I woke up at 5 a.m. to do our morning podcast, and then I had a non-sports sports related podcast.
Of you when that happened.
Saturday night. We were doing that while like, hey, I'll post the link if y'all are interested. We try to keep them separate, but we have a podcast where you hear me cheering for the Mavs during the podcast. It was a long 24 hours, however long it was. It was,
right.
Yeah, Kenny. I will be happy to buy you a Mavericks jersey and send it to you if the Mavericks somehow win in 5.
Man, I would be ecstatic if the Mavs win in 5, but with Carl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards, man, Anthony Edwards tonight has been just knocking down some threes. He's looking a little tired, a little gassed here coming into the 4th, but Mavs are definitely still in this. So,
Korri,
man, putting some heavy bets down on.
I told my roommate if they get in 5, I'll give them $100. Hey, that's like. I've always been to one. I'm not a big sports gambler, but I've always thought if I was going to gamble, I'd gamble against my own team. So either way, I win money or my team wins, right? I don't want to bet for my team because if they lose, then it's kind of a double whammy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely think the Mavs have a great shot at
Mavs up by 1 right now, by the way.
They're hit a 3. That's why I was like, yes, when we were talking. And I think they're reviewing this. Yeah, this is off of Edwards going out. But I definitely think the Mavs can win this. I I don't think they're going to get it done in 5. I mean, anything's possible. I've seen stranger things happen in sports. My girlfriend's so tired of hearing me say that.
I mean, back in 2011, the Mavericks did sweep the defending champs, and the Los Angeles Lakers.
That was very peachy.
They won 4-1 in the Western Conference Finals against the Thunder with KG, Westbrook, Harden. Given that was before those three were like superstars necessarily, but I don't know. It's just kind of surreal. Like, you look back on some of these runs, even the Rangers run to the World Series last year, where you look back and you don't. Hey, what's up, Tony? You don't understand when you're in the middle of it. That's what I'm saying. Everybody needs to enjoy what's happening with the Mavericks and Stars. It's never happened before.
Yeah, for sure.
The Mavericks and Stars have made the Western Conference Finals, and maybe it ends for both of them in this series. Maybe neither of them make the finals. I don't know, but enjoy the run, because I don't think I enjoyed the Rangers run as much, because I was like, it's not going to last. That's good they made it. I thought they were going to lose against the Astros, and they made the World Series. I thought maybe they win the World Series or whatever, but I didn't enjoy it till it was over, and then I was like, well, crap. I didn't realize that was a World Series run. Just like until the Mavericks swept the Lakers, in 2011, I didn't realize that was going to be a championship run.
Man, I mean, I was rooting for them, but I definitely felt like that year they were a little bit of an underdog headed through those finals. And man, just every game I was edge of my seat for all of it. You know, it was an amazing run. And I mean, honestly, this Mavs team gives me a similar vibe. I think we could make that run again. But let's be honest, right? The Celtics absolutely destroyed the Pacers in their game 1, 133-128 overtime. It was an overtime win.
I mean,
this has been without.
To be fair, the Pacers should have won that game. I think it was. I can't remember the first time, and I remember it was a weird stat, but the first time a team had lost, when they had the ball inbounding up by 3 with less than 10 seconds left, and they ended up losing the game. They should have won that game. They kind of gave it away. And if you're the underdog, you definitely gave that game away. Like, you can flip it around and say,
give those games up either.
Yeah, like, if it would have been reversed and the Celtics gave that game away, you can be like, okay, we're favored, we should win. You know, they stole a game, whatever. But Indiana had that game, and I'm 100% rooting for Indiana for 2 reasons. Rick Carlisle, like, I'm a fan of Rick Carlisle, obviously, old Mavericks coach. Yeah. And then 2, that's feels like an easier path to a championship if you can make it past Minnesota. That obviously Indiana's an easier opponent than Boston.
For sure. I mean, the Celtics have been the favorite to win this whole thing since the playoffs have started. And I mean, they're good. I mean, they're playing great, but to be honest, I feel like they haven't even played necessarily to their full potential. They've almost like been playing to their opponent instead of playing to their full offensive potential. And I think that's the thing that could get them beat, especially in a series against, the number 6 seed Pacers. You end up going into these games just kind of expecting to, wax the floor with them, and you end up in bad positions. So, I mean, this would be an opportunity for the Pacers to really kind of try to take advantage, maybe change their game up a little bit, play more aggressively, and just really go after the Celtics. Because I'm with you. I would much rather play. I would have the Mavs play the Pacers in the finals, and I would feel much more confident about the Mavericks beating the Pacers than I would about them beating the Celtics. Because I guess I don't know about you, but I feel like we would probably agree the Celtics is like the team to beat.
I mean,
right
go
now.
Back to the Rangers championship. How big of a deal? Like, we're not looking as there's an asterisk on their championship because the Diamondbacks beat the Phillies. Like, the Phillies would have been a much harder route to win the championship. The Diamondbacks beat the Phillies.
Fourth quarter down by 1.
The Rangers beat the Diamondbacks, and no one's saying it's not a real championship. They should have beat the Phillies, So yeah, it would be a much bigger deal. I mean, the same thing with the Mavericks in 2011. As soon as they made it to the finals against the Heat, I thought, great run. I'm pretty sure it's going to end here, but who knows? Kenny, yeah, New Jersey Devils, New Jersey Nets vibes, 2000. I choose not to
Rangers
recognize that
Knicks
because
also,
yeah,
we're also.
But the
too,
Devils beat the Stars in the NHL Stanley Cup final in 2000. So that makes me feel better, and then at the same time makes me feel worse. So thanks for reminding me of that.
Right.
But no, I mean, you never know. I mean, that's a great story. I mean, with the Rangers winning the World Series, who knows? And Korri, appreciate it hanging out with
appreciate you hanging out,
Network.
Man, this is going to be a great fourth quarter here for the Mavericks. I think honestly, we obviously need Luka to play and Kyrie to bring that veteran leadership that he's got. He's arguably one of the best offensive players in the NBA. Barkley was actually just talking about him pregame, singing his praises like the whole pregame. It was kind of funny. And I mean, I love Kyrie, but honestly, I think the player the Mavs need to come through the most in this series is going to be PJ Washington. We need him to show up, get his points. I was just checking out some of his stats earlier. So far in the playoffs, he's like 6.8. He's actually up since like his trade. He was averaging like 4-point-something threes a game, and like 30-something%. He's actually up from that. He's averaging like 6.8 threes a game, and he's hitting like just over 40% of them. So I'm like, man, put this kid in, shoot some fucking threes, like, sorry for the language, but like,
no,
if you're hitting 40% of your threes, man, I'm like, shoot them, like, go for it, like, get out there. So hopefully that's what we'll see here in this fourth quarter. 1 point game, so it's real close.
Yeah, these series, it's easy to talk about the stars, but the stars of the game, not the Dallas Stars. It's going to be confusing now. The Stars are still in it, but it's easy to talk about the superstars. But every championship team, there's always those role players you can go back to and talk about. I had a guy I used to work with. I came to work wearing a Dallas Mavericks championship shirt one time, and he said, name me 5 players on that team that aren't Dirk, Terry, Kidd. The first name I said was Brian Cardinal, and he's like, okay, you're good.
You're good. Yeah.
I was like, Brian Cardinal had a role on that team. Deshaun Stevenson had a role in that team. And yeah, Dirk was the star. He was the MVP, but Dirk didn't do it alone. In the same way that Kyrie's not going to do it alone, Luka's not going to do it alone. If they end up making it to the NBA Finals, and in this series, you're going to see a game that Kyrie took over. You're going to see a game that Luka took over, and you're going to see a game that probably PJ Washington had really good defense. And there's going to be specific things, like even LeBron couldn't carry a no-name Cavaliers team to a championship.
Man, honestly, the Mavs team that sorry to interrupt, that didn't make the championship run that I thought they were was back when we had Dirty, Filthy, and Nasty, and I honestly could not believe that they never made it past the Western Conference Finals. And that team was incredible. I mean, it was so stacked. Because actually, it was then that I got a Jason Terry jersey, rocking the Jet, and man, he was a lights out 6-man at that time. That honestly, I mean, that was my favorite Mavs team kind of growing up there for that few seasons when they had Finley, Nash, and Nowitzki, and Jason Terry playing that 6-man position. We were just incredible, and honestly, I couldn't believe we didn't get a championship during those runs. I was super pumped when 2011 happened and Dirk finally got his championship, but man, to do it with Nash and Finley would have been amazing.
Yeah, the difference in that, it's funny that 2006 team and 2011 team, both teams that made it to the finals for the Mavericks, the only 2 players that were on both teams were Terry and Nowitzki.
Yeah.
And I don't think Finley, Nowitzki, and Nash played. I want to say they only played like 3 years total
Yeah, it was
together.
like 3 years. Yeah.
Because Nash had left, and I mean,
Probably my favorite.
Luka's the best Maverick that's ever played, talent wise.
Yeah.
I don't know what he has to do to pass Dirk total, just as the best Maverick, because Dirk
but he's on his way.
was offered. Dirk took so many pay cuts, and he was there was a situation where the Lakers were going to offer Dirk like $20 million a year, and he stayed with the Mavericks for like $8 million. I don't remember the amount, but it was ridiculous pay cut, and he stayed. And maybe Luka's that loyal. I have no idea. I mean, you can't expect a player to be like that, like Dirk, but Luka has surpassed Dirk in talent wise since, but we'll see what has passed that. But yeah, Dirk, Finley, and Nash have. It's a shame they didn't do more. They're looked at as a big three, but they hadn't accomplished a lot playoff wise. I think it was such a short time they were together, and I don't know. Maybe you look the same as Luka, Kyrie, and I don't know who that third player might be. Right now, it looks kind of like Washington. We'll see. I hope Kyrie stays around long enough to be kind of like to reach a few milestones as a Maverick, maybe playoff points or something like that. I don't know. I'm not expecting much. Hopefully, it doesn't end terribly between Kyrie and the Mavericks, but right now we're on a good run.
Yeah, no, I would love to see Kyrie stick around a little longer. I mean, same with Luka. The two make such a dynamic duo in the league. I mean, top scoring duo all season.
Luka's like the top scorer in the first quarter. Kyrie's the top scorer in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
That's a ridiculous stat. Korri, I'm not sure what you mean by this. I got my listening now. Nephew, maybe? Got my nephew? Is that what that means? Appreciate it.
Too old for the slang.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm already learning things that my 11-year-old son is teaching me, and it's making me feel old. Korri, yes, sir. Yeah, I guessed it. I think I had to say it out loud. It's like that game where you try to say words that sound like something else, and reading them you don't know, but you say it out loud, and it makes you think of something. But nephew, I got it. There you go.
All right, I think last I looked, Mavs are down by 5. A little over 10 minutes to go. We'll keep an eye on that, but let's shift over to I'll let you pick. You want to talk Stars a little bit, or you want to talk Rangers?
Let's do Rangers, because I'm good at sandwiching things where it's good, bad, good. And the Stars are definitely good. The Rangers are definitely bad right now. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen. Did they win tonight? Are they winning?
Last I checked, it was 10-4 in the 8th, and they were losing. So
they lost 11-4.
Pretty sure. Yeah. I mean, in all honesty, who was it? I have it here. John Gray was he's getting an MRI for a pulled groin. He was pulled from yesterday's start.
It's just
and then considering all the injury woes that we're going through, I mean, we finally have that losing record that I've been talking about every week. Right now I think it's 24 and 26. I think we're 2 games under 500 now. Probably makes it 3.5 games back from Seattle. Last I looked, it was 3 games, so I assume it's 3.5 now. Houston's in 3rd. They just lost. So I mean, I think the Rangers still have a shot, especially like if we can get away from this whole injury bug thing. Unfortunately, the majority of our injuries are all our pitchers and relief pitchers. Eovaldi's on 15-day, Bradford's on 15-day. Brock Burke is supposed to start rehab with the Arizona Complex League tomorrow. But a lot of these guys, are still on like
I mean,
60-day.
If you look at
ILs, sorry.
the IL, the Rangers may have one of the best starting rotations of all time, at least right now, with Scherzer, DeGrom, Bradford, now Gray, Evaldi.
Saboras is still
a lot of messages
day.
to go through.
Yeah.
Kenny, the Rangers didn't dismantle. In fact, really the only main part they didn't bring back was Jordan Montgomery, which it is a big name, a big part of winning that championship. But they pretty much have everybody. They're just on the injured reserve, or what do they call the injured list?
Yeah, really one of the few championship teams that didn't make a lot of adjustments in the offseason as far as personnel. Yeah. And honestly, I was all for it. I'm here for it. I thought it was a great roster to try and make a repeat run at it. But, if you can't keep everyone healthy, I mean, there's not a lot that you can do to avoid that. It would be a very different conversation if we were talking about having this roster and everyone was striking out. There were 9 strikeouts, I think, last night, 10 strikeouts.
I mean,
but when you're missing like your best hitters, and
it's not an excuse to say that they're injured, but it's definitely a reason.
Yeah, it is the reason. Yeah, you
can only do so much, and the only names I can think of are Montgomery and Robbie Gross. Robbie Gross. No, you're good. Robbie Gross they traded and got back too. Or as well, but Montgomery's really the only one. The Rangers have had issues with the Valley Southwest, or whatever you want to call it, TV deal where they couldn't go out and spend a bunch and add a bunch of teams.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they have they have their main parts back this year. They're you can say that they kind of made a surprise championship run, and you bring back that roster, which is pretty good, but maybe they overperformed and went on a run to win a championship where it was a big surprise, and to expect that same roster to go and win another championship, even healthy, is a big ask. But definitely having issues now. But they're still in the thick of their division. What are they, like 3 games back?
Yeah,
first.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
The Astros are climbing back up. Well, they're going to be a threat as well.
Well, they did just lose. I think they won like 8 in a row or something though, which really helped.
They had won 9 of 11 a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how the last couple of days have gone, but
I know. I just know that they lost their last one, so I noticed that on the
okay. I think they're 2 games back of the Rangers, if not 2.5.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like 5.5. The Rangers, I think, are at 3.5 now, down from Seattle in second. So, the Houston Astros, I mean, they're not doing that well. They actually started off very, very rough. I think they lost 8 early in the season.
I mean, I know they were down. I think they were 10 games under 500 earlier this season. That was the first time since 2016. But to be fair, the Astros have been dealing with injuries as well, and they're starting to get healthy now. They haven't been dealing near as I think the Rangers might be the worst or the most injury-ridden team at the moment.
Yeah, at the time, I think we are.
But we'll see when players start getting healthy, if they can stay healthy, and what what happens when you look at your 2, 3, 4 hitters. Being what is it, like Grossman, man, I can't remember what it was, but their 2, 3, 4 were backups about a month ago, adding Robbie Grossman in as well. So it's an issue.
Yeah,
it's an issue when your power hitters are backups.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like we're both basically saying the same thing. Injury riddled Rangers. Honestly, I'm impressed. I'm proud of them for staying in the fight as well as they are up to this point, considering that they, like, all month we've been getting more and more injuries. So hopefully throughout the summer, these guys will be coming off of these injuries. Hopefully they'll stay healthy, and it'll give us the right kind of push, especially like into August and September. If we can really kind of close it out well. I mean, I'll keep harping on the whole It's not how you start; it's how you finish. It's only May. It's a 162 game season. I'm going to argue that how you play in August and September much more important than probably how you played in May. So
I know it's not my quote. I can't remember. Maybe a Yogi Berra quote. I'm not sure. I know he makes a bunch of. I was on the 108 Stitches podcast on the South Florida Tribune, and I said every team's gonna win 60 games. Every team's gonna lose 60 games. Is what you do in the 42 games in between that matters. So we'll see if the Rangers can make a run.
Good,
I mean,
I like that.
I try to stay real with the Rangers, where they did make a run. They made a crazy run to win a World Series, and they didn't improve much outside of Evan Carter's a little bit older, Josh Young's a little bit older. I mean, that does help, but at the same time, yeah, outside of injuries and all kinds of stuff. Hey, Kenny, you're trying to post the Astros as the Asterix.
I mean,
comparing to that. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm just trying to stay neutral here. Trying to stay biased, but
I mean, you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
I mean, I had to take a trip to Houston the day the Rangers won or the day after the Rangers won the World Series. And I had a few, and I took my Rangers championship hat that I bought. And I had to deal with a few Houston Astros fans telling me that the Rangers World Series was the least watched of any in the however long. Well, I said, does it matter? I mean, is that what your argument is? The Rangers won, but it was the least watched World Series in however long. I'm like, okay, I don't care. What difference does that make
just
to
picking
me?
Fights.
Yeah. If your first insult has nothing to do with on the field play, then right. I think we're doing okay. Yeah, Kenny, they still won. Yeah, who cares? I mean,
right.
Yeah, you would like it to be a great, that does kind of suck where you're like, well, yeah, it was the least watched. Yeah, but I mean, you had the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Texas Rangers. Like we talked about, the Phillies would have made it. Would have been different if the Yankees, well, they couldn't play the Yankees, but if they would have played the Dodgers or something like that. Yeah. I don't think the Astros World Series, I want to say they were bottom 10 as well. They weren't great. Mavericks up by 5 with 6.5 minutes left.
I think it also just depends on Luka made his second. There we go. Up by 8. But yeah, honestly,
you're ahead of me on here.
Am I? I got 7.
Oh yeah, Luka just went to the free throw line on my side. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just I'm dealing with cable here in this hotel. It's ridiculous. Kenny, shut the puck up ends, and 10 minutes later, LA Kings announce a new coach. Yeah, man, y'all get y'all's news. Come to Peak One Sports for the hockey news. Shut the puck up has you covered. Kenny Mays will.
Kenny stays real tied in with that NHL news.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and say it. If y'all see any NHL posts outside of possibly like Stars posts, that's definitely Kenny doing it. I don't claim to be a hockey expert at all. That's Kenny and Adam, 100% doing a great job over there, helping us out.
Oh yeah, shout out to them. Adam headed to the Stars game tomorrow. So jealous.
Yeah, they were supposed to, I think they were supposed to have their show tomorrow, if I remember right, and they had to sandwich it right before our game, or right before our show. Yeah. Because Adam's going to be at game 1 of the Western Conference Finals tomorrow.
So, I mean, super jealous there. That's going to be a great game 1. The energy at American Airlines is going to be insane. Of course, I would imagine, I almost feel bad for like the workers at American Airlines.
Going back and forth on the...
Because for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, just going like 2 games, hockey, going back and forth, switching the court, the ice to the court and back.
Yeah, right. Yeah, cleaning the place up.
Can you imagine if the Mavericks had a higher seed, where the Mavericks were at home at the same time, and it was like every day. Because remember when they were playing, I know they wouldn't have
right.
played the same day like they had been playing.
But if they were like
NHL,
alternating,
it would have been different days. But can you imagine like Monday ice, Tuesday?
It was like both game ones and game twos right here. Yeah, that would be insane.
The NHL and the NBA lucked out that the Mavericks were a lower seed, so they would alternate. And at first, I was kind of pissed that the Mavericks and Stars were playing the same day every game. And then I thought, well, man, I'm getting no sleep on every other game. Can you imagine if I was getting no sleep every day? Luckily, now that they're playing every day, that it's like a 7:30 start. So
yeah,
it's late. It's far enough down, and it's far enough into the playoffs where it's really the only game going on each night.
Mavericks this is like honestly like, kind of my favorite part when you've got like the Final Four for both teams or both divisions headed to the finals and everything. You get just knockout, high caliber play and everything out of your just best players in the league and things like that. So. But yeah, definitely lucked out in that sense because I could only imagine if it was 4 days in a row of having to put in a basketball court and take it out. And
I've seen deals where it was like an afternoon game during the regular season and then a night game where they switch it in a few hours. But Kenny said the ice is going to be brutally bad in Dallas. Is that being sarcastic, or does that actually affect the ice? Like, I'm pretty ignorant to the fact that I have no idea. I mean, I've seen fast-forwarded videos, like time-lapse videos of them switching it. Does that actually affect the court or the ice? And let me know, Kenny. I wouldn't guess, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know either. I definitely don't skate as much as I'm sure Kenny does. I would personally think that laying down like fresh ice and everything because you've got the whole day to do it. Putting the pad and court down insulates and lets.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, it affects how the ice, how soft or how rough it is.
Yeah, I got you.
I guess that makes sense. Like you put it down and you think the ice is the ice, but it does make a difference on how cold it is, how warm it is. Like if you have to, it's not fresh ice; it's covered.
Yeah. No, I mean,
that
I know that. But I mean, I don't know. I guess again, I don't know enough about that kind of thing. But I would have thought, having like the full day to lay down ice and do all of that would do that. Now, I'm sure it'd be different if they were in fact having to switch it out every day. But with the Stars being here for game 1 and 2 and the Mavs being away, I don't think that's going to be as much of an issue.
Yeah, I mean, what is it, like a 3-day gap? Because you're playing every other day and then you swap, so they get a full day to. Well, no, I guess that's not true.
Well, I mean, I would imagine they're
after game 2. Yeah, because the Stars play second, so after game 2, the next day is game 3.
Yeah, it will be the Mavs.
I guess it would be fine. You have a full day before.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, between game 5, 1, 2, whatever game, between switching it back to the ice, you have a full day. Switching it to the court, it's like next day. But
yeah. So that might make an issue when we come back, Stars come back for game 5. Might have some of those ice issues, but I can't imagine these first 2 games they would have too much of an issue because. I mean, you don't really even have to tear it down after game 1. I don't know exactly what they do. Because, like, I want to say for the Mavs games, they always tear the court down and it's, like a bunch of pieces that they take apart. But I don't know that they do that or if they'll do that for the Stars game, so.
Yeah, I think it's a benefit that if I have the math right in my head where there's a quick turnaround between hockey and basketball. Because the Mavericks they're starting tonight game 1, so they'll play game 3 right after game 2.
Well, they'll play game 2 series. And the next day game 3.
Game 3, it's going hockey to basketball same day, but when you switch back, you have like almost a full day, over a full day because I think I have that math right. But either way,
And
I think
I'm,
they'll be okay. I think, I mean, they've dealt NHL dealt with it.
I'm like 90% sure that they've got like heating and cooling coils in the concrete of the American Airlines Center to help with the whole south heat thing. So they don't have those ice issues. I know they've got some kind of tech thing that helps keep the floor cold. But Dallas down by 1, a little over 3.5 left to play. Man, this game's really going back and forth quite a bit because they were just up by 7
we said
or 8.
it was going to be a close game. This is going to be a close series. I would say disappointed if the Mavericks lose game 1. I mean, in a 7-game series where you start off on the road, you kind of expect if you can win one of the first 2 games, that kind of flips it and you get home court advantage from that point.
Yeah,
but it's definitely better to lose a close game like this. I mean, if you want any solace, it's Mavericks have lost game 1 of the first 2 rounds, and I know against the Lakers it wasn't even. I mean the Clippers it wasn't even close. I can't remember in round 2, but this is a really good game. It's not like they're getting blown out or anything.
No, for sure. You're probably coming up on Lucas 3 here.
Oh yeah, thanks for that, man. I mean, thanks for the.
I mean, he still made it.
Spoiler.
Right?
I mean,
but yeah, Mavs really playing this. I'm with you. I'm definitely like of the. I prefer winning game 1, but I'm sure, the majority of people do. But I agree with you in the sense that as long as you can usually split those first 2 games 1-1, that gives you a pretty good opportunity to, especially in this situation, come home and hopefully win the next 2 with home field advantage. But you definitely don't want to come home down 2.
Can he give us a lot of knowledge? I mean, I don't want to think it's like not a big deal that I'm being ignorant about this. I've definitely heard of bad NFL fields. I mean, you're talking about San Francisco, the New York Giants, Jets having bad fields notoriously, Washington. But he's giving us all the scoop about who has the worst ice. I didn't know that was a thing. Like I figured,
to be honest, it's not something I necessarily thought of either. But I can understand what he's saying as far as like, if the ice is a little softer or not as. I mean, but obviously harder ice would be
you
better
have
to skate on.
Maintenance guys to take care of it. I thought. I mean, I get it. It's complicated. We have to switch back and forth. Definitely like the New Jersey Nets. To be specific, don't have a basketball team anymore. So
yeah, that's what
they're a hockey only arena, and there's a few others that they don't have to deal with it. But you think, I mean, yeah, that throws in a curveball, but you're professionals. You're supposed to be able to take care of this. Things I thought we'd never talk about on a podcast I was involved with is the how good the ice was on certain hockey arenas and the science behind how to keep good ice and bad ice. Going back and forth. We talk way more hockey on a show I'm associated with and I'm more comfortable with.
I mean, honestly, I just kind of started getting into hockey over like the last 5 years or so, I guess. To be honest, actually, it started, I was in San Antonio, in the track program through the Wounded Warrior Project. And we got to go to a bunch of, I'm going to say Brahmas, but I know that's wrong.
Brahmas Fort Worth?
Yeah. It was their minor league hockey team.
Minor league in Fort Worth?
What's that?
Minor league hockey team in Fort Worth?
No. This was in San Antonio.
Oh, yeah. I would assume it's not the Brahmas because Fort Worth is the Brahmas.
Yeah, that one's in North Richland Hills. But yeah, I want to say the Brahmas. I know that's wrong. But I went to a number of those minor league hockey games, and that kind of sparked a lot of my interest in hockey, and so I've been watching more and more. It doesn't hurt that the Stars have also been playing very, very well, like over the last 5 years, especially the last 2 seasons. We've been incredible. So
San
that
Antonio
definitely makes
Rampage?
it more fun to watch. Rampage, thank you. Yeah, that's
Okay.
it.
I
Nailed it.
just
Yeah.
Googled it. I Googled it. It's,
I knew the Brahmas was wrong. I knew it was wrong.
yeah, I think
but
they're
yeah,
the
thank you,
Texas
the
Brahmas
Rampage.
now. Just throwing it out there. I'm not
They
sure. I
were a
know
lot of fun
Adam
to
would
watch.
be. Adam would be the expert on that one.
They actually played the Texas Stars as well.
Yeah,
so,
to Frisco.
I mean, they were,
Yeah, I remember. Went to a because Frisco has a lot of sports actually. With FC Dallas, obviously they have like that stadium hosts the Division II college football championship, but it used to be Dr. Pepper Arena. I don't know if it's still, but they host the Texas Legends, the G League basketball team, and they would host the Texas Stars, minor league hockey team. And we went to a Texas Legends basketball game and saw the hockey rink they play at there. So yeah, so it's a lot. Fun fact: Frisco has a lot of, for the size city it is, they have a lot of sports going on there.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think I actually just even saw that the Brahmas here in North Richland Hills just won their championship. So shout out to them.
I want to say that the Texas Brahmas now, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just happened to catch a post on
MetLife Stadium claims they can't improve the turf because of, and this is a direct quote from an employee, there are too many concerts having real grass and putting real. I mean, I feel like that's always a conversation.
Yeah,
that's definitely a thing where the fact that a lot of stadiums are turf and they threw out, when they talk about a player getting injured, they threw out a number like every NFL stadium could switch to grass because of this turf number, and it wasn't like a ridiculous number, but for one, there are some stadiums that turf's just not possible because they're dome stadiums, they're not even retractable. And two, we saw it with a few years ago with the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio, that grass sometimes just doesn't work because of concerts, and whether you like that or not, it's a factor. Stadiums are built at an outrageous expense, and to make them more worth it, they have to have concerts. And
absolutely,
having turf has that benefit where you can have concerts. You don't have to track stages on grass outside of, I know Vegas and the Cardinal Stadium has a retractable field, but you can't think of that and implement that in a stadium after the fact. Like Cowboy Stadium, you can't just build a retractable field. It doesn't work. If you've ever been to Cowboy Stadium in the middle of downtown Arlington, there's 4 major roads surrounding you. You can't just retract the field out. But
no, and honestly, we're just talking about it. The cost. Could you imagine for what it costs to build Cowboy Stadium? And it's not even like the nicest
$1.5 billion.
Yeah, it's not even the nicest, most state-of-the-art stadium anymore compared to what's the one in LA that they just did?
SoFi,
yeah. And I guess they're getting ready to do some really cool tech stuff for I can't remember now, but anyway,
Chicago's about to get a new stadium. Buffalo's getting a new one.
I think it was Chicago that I heard about, and they're going to do some stuff where it's like every chair will have like a charging port, but it'll also have like a means of like tracking like sound decibels, so it can actually track like what the loudest like sections are and things like that. They're also going to have kind of like SoFi does, and they're going to have like the wraparound screen and everything. It's supposed to be like a mile worth of monitor or something like that.
You can ruin
but anyway, could you imagine
spending... Mavs are up by 4 with 17 seconds on my TV.
Yeah, that's what I got too.
Yep. If they end up losing, you can just say Mavs lost. That would be worse than Indianapolis. But go ahead.
But could you imagine spending $1.5 billion to build a stadium, and then you only use that stadium 17 times a year?
Yeah, it's there was a study
not even
done,
8.
There was a study done where some economists said it's not worth it for a sports team to use a stadium, and how many ever times for the cost of it. And if you just put it down to that, sure, I can think of that. But you think of all the events it hosts, the fact that if you if teams threaten to leave a city because they don't have a new stadium, sure, if you say, well, 17 games a year, or well, 9 games a year minus all the extra events. If you say the economic effect of losing a team, what you're talking about, jersey sales, just apparel sales in general. How many times, like whether if you buy apparel for your team, you go to a sports bar and watch your team play, or especially if they're in the playoffs or whatever, like there's a lot more economic factors involved. Man, Cowboy Stadium, they always have something going on. They have high school football going on. I don't know how much money that generates, but they have, bull riding. They have, FIFA. Yeah, sure. If you think about it, there's not a lot going on.
The Spartan race.
The one every 20 years that you have, I mean, even more than that you have a World Cup every 30 years for US. I think they had it in the 90s. So if you think the United States has a World Cup every 30 years, the fact that I think AT&T Stadium has 9 matches in the World Cup coming here in a couple of years, where they're comparing that to having 9 Super Bowls. The economic effect in a metropolitan area of 9 Super Bowls, like that almost pays for the stadium itself. The fact that they're able to bring in how many ever matches, it may be 7. It was quite a few, but on its face, if you just look at it, Cowboy Stadium is only going to bring in 8, maybe 9 games a year, depending, alternating on home games. But there's so much more to that. Like you said, concerts. They're having the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. I think you wanted to talk about that tonight. They're hosting that night in July. That's going to make a difference. They hosted the NFL draft. They host so many things that.
They've hosted. Didn't they host a Canelo fight there not that long ago?
Yeah, they had a couple of Pacquiao fights there.
Yeah. So the Cowboys Stadium, Death Star, I call it, or whatever.
Jerry World. There's
Jerry
Death
World,
Star's
whatever.
a good one.
It looks like a big spaceship. I love it. But yeah, so there's no way you would have stadium like that, or even like SoFi or something, and you're just not going to use it year round when it's empty, and when you're talking about spending, billions of dollars on a stadium, you've obviously got to recoup that money somehow. And, as much as you charge for beer, I still don't think that's going to quite get you there. You know what I mean?
Mavs steal game 1. Luka 33 points. Kyrie 30 points.
Oh, is it over now? I'm
there's 2 seconds. Behind. They're up by 4.
Oh, I've got.
I'm calling 7. It. I'm sorry. They're up by 4 with 2 seconds left. Maybe I'm prematurely calling it. I'll chug a beer here in a second. If the Mavericks lose, I'll chug a beer live right now.
Oh, if they win, we're at the line up by 2. I got 7 seconds.
I show 108, 104 with 1.7 seconds.
Knocks down the first. Do this, Mavs. This almost transferred into a live watch party. I can appreciate that.
The only ever New York, New Jersey Super Bowl generated enough money to pay for MetLife alone. Yeah, I know the Cowboys Super Bowl, there was a lot of issues with seating that they had added. And I think they fell short by the attendance record by like 700 people, something really close.
Yeah, I was working downtown.
Chug a beer anyways, Kevin Cole. Come on, man. Come on.
I was actually working downtown when the Super Bowl was here that year, Packers and Steelers, and that whole ice storm came, and I got stuck downtown. I remember meeting a lot of people that had bought tickets, and they had it in that extra section that Jerry had added, and then they had to take it out because of a fire hazard. And these people were like crazy upset. I bet a couple of these people came from Australia, and their tickets were no longer good because they had tickets in that section.
Yeah, I know the Cowboys
so upset. Like that would be.
Thanks, Kevin. They supposedly made that right. I don't know there were lawsuits or whatever, but I do know Sundance Square. If you're not familiar with DFW, that's like the main part of downtown Fort Worth. There was when I say the ice kind of melted, I mean it was a little more. DFW is a little more travelable. That's even the right word. That's probably not. Later in Super Bowl week, you had Green Bay and Pittsburgh fans. I mean, I think they were okay. They could get around. But there was one day, right? It was the Saturday before the Super Bowl that Sunday at Square economically had their best day in history,
Absolutely,
sales wise, for that one day. So
they changed the rules and
DFW
everything. They let you walk around with beers.
DFW made quite a bit. It moved the scale.
Made a lot of money.
Even the fact that you had an ice storm and all kinds of stuff, and it's funny because February is typically the month that we'll have a week of terrible weather in DFW. But it's funny, as far as I remember, every single year since, Mavs win 108, 105. I think, right? It's 1.8 seconds left.
That's what I still got too. But
crap, I'm gonna have to chug a beer if they can. What's going on? Who has the ball?
It's all right. I got this vodka here. I'm about to drink after we win.
Where was I?
The money made in Fort Worth from the Super Bowl.
And no. Every year since the week of the Super Bowl, it's been relatively good weather since. I'm thinking we have there's always a week in February we have some ice storm or some ridiculous thing. But I want to say a couple of years ago it was like 75 degrees, and I'm like, man, why did we have to have the Super Bowl?
Oh, I know, right?
At that point,
so many people were upset. I remember,
108, 105 final.
I ended up on an episode of Mike and Mike in the Morning. That's how long ago this was, because they did their first night. It was like Monday, and they did their first show like outside, but it was the beginning of that cold front, so it was freezing outside. I want to say there might have even been like on and off freezing rain and stuff. It was crazy. But I remember going to that, and then they didn't do another outdoor episode for the rest of the week. They had found like a indoor radio studio or whatever that they ended up using. But we personally gave them a lot of hard time about it, just because it was like, it's Green Bay and Pittsburgh. Like, aren't y'all like used to some cold weather? And then they were talking about never wanting to have another Super Bowl in Dallas, and I was like, it's never like this. To be fair,
Dallas did not have the equipment to keep. It's easier in the north when you're used to having this weather, when you have the sand trucks or salt trucks or whatever. To be fair, anybody would have the issues we have with ice if you didn't prep things the right way. Kenny, to be fair, you asked did Jerry famously not use public funds for that stadium. Technically,
actually,
he did. It wasn't
taxpayers of Arlington paid for that stadium.
Sales tax. They did a sales tax increase from 0.06 cents, or I guess 6 cents to 0.06, right? But whatever it normally is, 0.825, 0.625 to 0.825 sales tax in Arlington. So the public did pay for it. It's not like most stadiums where they increase taxes in general.
He also sold
sales tax.
He sold all his beer rights to Budweiser. That's why you can only get like Budweiser products in the stadium. And then
it used to
there was
be
something
Miller.
else he did too that helped cover
so
the majority of the expenses. So Jerry actually didn't pay for the stadium.
No, he didn't.
At all. He did great businessman things to
answer your question. Most stadiums, yes, he did not do the traditional.
Let's go Mavs.
The traditional way of paying for it was sales tax, but Arlington residents did pay for it. If you bought things in Arlington anytime in the last however many years, and then Rangers got a stadium right when that how many ever years, it was 10 years or however long, to pay that sales tax, they just continued it to pay for the Ranger stadium. So Arlington residents are still paying for that. Go Mavs.
So I'm so proud of this Mavericks team. Like I just want to talk on them for another minute, and we'll move on to Stars and the Mike Tyson fight. The fact that like this team, both in that last game 6 and in this game, were like severely tested, like really up against good offensive shooting teams, guys that are like making their shots. Arguably Dallas not playing the greatest defense I've seen out of them. in the series and everything. But the fact that
Yeah.
they continue to just stay tenacious, they keep fighting, they keep staying in it. Whether they're down by 3 or they're down by 10, they're playing their game the exact same way, a full 4 quarters. They're finishing strong and they're coming out with these wins. I mean, you can't sing those praises enough. Like, way to just hang in there.
I tried to.
You're a competitive team.
Obviously,
no matter
show
what.
prep and doing this show live, there's only so much. I mean, I'm checking in, but I mean, it was a close game all the way through. It wasn't, go back to Oklahoma City game 6 where the Mavs were down like 15 points, something like that. They, that wasn't the case. It was it was a close game throughout. And I mean, I don't remember this season so far, this playoff run, where the Mavs have done that. It's either the Mavs are leading the whole game, it's kind of a blowout, or vice versa, or they have to come back and win, or they have a big lead and then they give up the lead. This was a consistent game all the way through where I didn't see a lead bigger than 6 either way. I mean, I'm not saying there wasn't, but
Yeah,
just checking in, it was a close game the whole way.
I think the Mavs might have gotten down by 8 at one point. I did see the Mavs, I think, were leading by 7 or 8 at one point as well. But you're right. Like, the gap in this game was never like one team really had it out of hand or anything like that. But I mean, it can be easy to let it get out of hand when you're down by 7 or 8. That's kind of like that sweet spot almost, where it's like from here it either gets worse or it gets better, depending on how well you can hang in. And the Mavs, continue to fight to the end, to the very end, and I love it. I think that's exactly the kind of thing you need to do if you want to win this championship. Celtics are going to be a crazy hard opponent in the finals.
Well, calm down, man. Calm down.
So
calm down. They win.
See these
they won
Pacers
game 1. Calm down. They won game 1. If they go out and lose by
strong game 1.
2,
it's a strong game 1.
No, but seriously, you'd like to, even if they lose game 2, you'd like them to see them put up a fight. Either way, they stole a game in Minnesota.
Yeah.
If you can go up by 2 games, I mean, albeit, but winning game 1 such a good deal, because if you can somehow win game 2 or at least stay close in game 2, you feel good coming home. Not just, I mean, you can say what you want about home court advantage, but there's a different feeling coming back 1-1 or even 2-0, coming back to a crazy Dallas crowd.
Coming into the American Airlines Center is going to be a real test for Minnesota.
And like I said, even going, playing the Clippers in round 1, when I said I would prefer to have Oklahoma City in round 2 because they're a young team, they're an unproven team. I think Dallas would be favored because you don't see young teams like that win in the playoffs. For more or less, lack of a better word, lack of a better term, your teams to advance, to have success in the playoffs, have to have some skin in the game, to have some skin on the walls, to where you've seen this Mavericks team lose in the playoffs. Oklahoma City doesn't have that. Minnesota, on the other hand, does have a little bit of that. I still think they're pretty young, where the Mavericks obviously have more playoff experience. Lucas had some playoff experience. Kyrie obviously has a ton of playoff experience. It'll be interesting to see how this Minnesota team comes back, because they've had a little bit of playoff experience. It's not like they haven't lost or they don't know how to lose. But traditionally in the NBA, you're gonna have to lose before you can win. And this Mavericks team is definitely.
Didn't Minnesota lose the Western Conference last year to Denver? I think.
No, was it? I want to say no.
I know they made the playoffs last year and they lost.
I want to say they've lost in the
when.
first couple of rounds the last 2 years.
It might be. You might be right.
Correct us. So somebody Google that. Correct. I could be wrong. I don't think it was them in the Western. Was it the Clippers or was that the year before?
Yes,
because the Clippers made it.
Now you're gonna make me lie to everybody. I'm not sure.
Well, I know it was last year. It was Boston and Miami.
Maybe they made it to the second round, not the conference finals.
It was Boston and Miami in the Western or the East. No, maybe that was a couple of years ago. My gosh, I'm way off. Come on, somebody help us out here. I'm not gonna go this. I'm guessing it's not them in the Western Conference, but it could be.
I definitely agree with you.
If they were in the Western Conference Finals this year, just my whole argument's shot. Right. That they don't have that much playoff experience, but maybe they have a ton of playoff experience.
Yeah, but I think you're right. No matter what, we come back to Dallas for Game 3 at the worst case scenario, 1-1, thanks to this Game 1 win for the Mavericks. I think that's an incredible position to put yourself in. Like you're saying, even if we just split this series 1-1 before coming home, the fact that Minnesota has to come into American Airlines Center and win is going to be a tall ask for really any team, in my opinion. I expect the American Airlines Center to be just absolutely lit on fire, over the next few weeks between Stars and Mavs. I mean, get ready. The roof is coming off, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine what this city would be like if you have Stars and Mavs in the finals, each of their respective conference. I mean, because I think we all expect the Star. Like, I don't want to get too confident, but I think most people are picking the Stars to move on. And then you just have the Mavs winning Game 1. So really, it's like win 3 before the other team can win 4. Situation.
Man, I swear Kenny told me last week he thought Edmonton was going to beat the Stars. But I've seen
maybe that's me throwing my blinders on, but I haven't seen anybody say they thought the Stars were going to lose. I mean, even so, the Stars are favored, and they have home ice advantage. They have rest. I mean, you can say whatever you want about.
That's the best part for us, I think.
Yeah, you can say like, well, they don't have the momentum. I don't think that works as much in hockey as it does in other sports where you talk about the bye week in NFL playoffs. That I don't think an extra game, an extra day off is worse for a hockey team than keeping the momentum going. I mean, the Stars are going to go on Fort. They won Friday night, so they're going to go off nearly a week off, almost a week off, 6 days off as opposed to Edmonton, who just finished Game 7 last night. It's definitely an advantage when you have players on the ice for 2 minutes at a time. Is a long time without getting a break. I
thought you would pick Boston.
Panthers versus Stars. Hey, if you've listened to me for not you, Dan, if listeners, because I've been on different entities of online radio and stuff, that I'm a sucker for oddities in sports. And the fact that you have the Stars in the Western Conference Finals again, back-to-back years, and then you have the team who lost in the finals, the Panthers. Didn't they lose in the final to Vegas last year? Am I wrong on that? Yeah, they won.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, or was it Carolina? No, it was Florida. Kenny, I'm not wrong, right? Because this whole point is void if they did. It was Florida Panthers, right? Or is it Carolina Hurricanes? Maybe I'm not going to make this point until Kenny confirms.
Right.
My gosh, I'm completely off. I've had a little too much to drink. So.
No, you're good.
Kenny, is it the Florida Panthers that lost to the Vegas Knights last year, or is it the Carolina Hurricanes? Because if it's the Carolina Hurricanes, forget everything I just said. I'm not going to make a point.
Now, didn't the Hurricanes beat the Bruins last year? And then they did it again this year?
Panthers versus... Okay, I'm right. Okay, so I know that the Mavericks weren't in the Western Conference Finals. It was the year before. But who did the Mavs lose to in the Western Conference Finals a couple of years ago? The Warriors, who went on to win the championship. The Stars lost to the Knights last year to go on to win the championship. The Vegas Knights beat the Panthers, who are now back in the conference finals. The Warriors, when they beat the Mavericks, beat the Celtics in the championship, who are now in the conference finals. So I'm calling it's going to be the Stars and Panthers. I mean, I know Kenny just said that. Stars and Panthers, and it's going to be the Mavericks and Celtics. Where two teams, the Celtics who just lost the championship 2 years ago, and the Mavericks who lost in the finals to the eventual championship, same path as the Stars last year, happening this year. If you can stick with all that, I don't know if I just lost everybody there. Comes down to Stars, Panthers in the championship, Mavericks, Celtics in the championship. I prefer the Pacers, but I think it's going to be the Celtics.
All right, we'll completely finish transitioning back over to Stars, but just give me your prediction here for Mavericks, Minnesota. Kenny's saying Mavs in 5. What do you got? You got Mavs in 7 still?
I had Mavs in 7. Do you want me to update it after tonight? Or you want me to forget everything that happened tonight?
No, man. I'm asking you right now. What is your prediction?
I'm going to say Mavs in 7. I'm going to stick with Mavs in 7. They just won a game ahead of schedule because I had them winning 1 in Minnesota, winning 1 in Dallas, and then going back, I had it 2-2 going back into game 5 and then them winning 2 of 3. I'll stick with that. I think Mavs in 7. Timberwolves are a really good team. They're going to adjust. Mavs fans, don't get too cocky. Don't get too confident. Mavs are still going to win the series, but don't say Mavs in 5 or Mavs in 4. Calm down.
Yeah, honestly, I'm with you. I'm actually going to say Mavs in 6. Just like the OKC game. I think honestly we just saw us take 1 in Minnesota. I think we'll end up splitting the series in Dallas as well. So like you said, after 4, I think we'll be tied 2-2, and then I kind of expect the Mavs to turn it on and take the next 5-6.
And look back to the Kyrie Irving trade last season, where I don't remember it was probably ESPN. I don't remember who called it a D grade for the Mavericks in this trade, but Kyrie Irving has been, as weird as it sounds, did you just take a shot?
Yeah.
Did you just take a shot in the middle of me trying to make a point?
I'm listening.
Kyrie Irving has been the mental stability for this team, believe it or not. As weird as that sounds,
100%.
He is that veteran leader who keeps Luka grounded. Where Luka's not a diva necessarily. He's definitely the star of this team, but he's okay saying, yeah, it's Kyrie's team as a leader. And everybody's going to follow Kyrie. Kyrie has the experience. Kyrie has that leadership. He still has talent. Obviously, he scored 30 points tonight. Adam, I'm just here for the shot. Take a shot Adam? Too. I'm in a hotel. I don't have my liquor cart with me. I apologize. As soon as I'm done making my point, I'll chug the rest of the beer I have. As crazy as it sounds, Kyrie is what this team needs mentally. Luka still complains to the refs a little bit or whatever, but Kyrie has Luka level-headed, and I don't know if it changes his career trajectory where he doesn't complain to the refs as much, because he still does it a little bit. But I think he keeps him grounded enough to do what he needs to do. Yes. Both Kyrie and Luka, 30 points tonight, and hopefully it continues. Yeah,
just to touch on that point before we switch here again. Thanks, Kenny, making me feel supported. I like it. Just to touch on this point a little bit, because we didn't actually get into it, but you totally brought it up. In that game 6 against OKC, especially in that first half, I don't know how much of it you caught, but like Luka, the refs were like really getting under Luka's skin. He wasn't getting the calls that he wanted and things like that. He started to argue. He got a technical for it, and then he was even like, you could see him continue like jawing at the referees and stuff. And then at one point, because it bugged me so much, but he like went for a drive, and I think he went for a layup or whatever, and he missed. Or no, he made it, and he's, like on his butt under the goal or whatever, under the hoop. And he is like eyeballing the referee like to his right. You can see it on camera and everything, right? And like as a coach and everything, right? I'm like, cut it out, man. You need to stop, right? And then it was like right after that, he got up and he was like, okay, sorry, and he went and he talked to the ref, and he basically wasted that whole timeout that the Mavs had, because he was talking to the referees about like what he thought or how he felt or whatever he was saying to him. And honestly, that whole time, I'm like, you should not be talking to the referees this much. It's like, don't get me wrong, I can understand like you trying to be like, I'm sorry, not trying to disrespect you, whatever, but that should basically be the end of the conversation. But then you have a guy like Kyrie Irving who's actually able to like take a youngster like Luka, who obviously gets irked and irritated by these refs when they're not making calls or whatever, and he's able to like refocus him, and I've noticed that in these games because the way they've been able to finish, sans bad refereeing, So, I mean, I totally agree. I think Kyrie Irving is the leader for this Mavericks team, and he does a great job of even being able to keep our superstar Luka like more focused and away from, whatever's getting in his heads,
Yeah. It's for sure going to make a difference in Luka's game. You can only change so much. I mean, Luka's going to be that guy. And I'm not necessarily mad at it. I mean, that's just who you are. In the moment, I get frustrated. I'm like, just play the game. But at the same time, I'm sitting on my couch drinking beer or whiskey, complaining as I'm overweight, whining about how Luka's playing his game. It is what it is. Luka's going to be known his whole career. Whatever his career comes down to, it looks like he's going to be maybe a top 10 player of all time, but in general, he's going to be somebody who's looked at as who complains to the ref and, refs. And if he can win a championship or two, maybe it's just kind of that quirk that he's known for. If he never wins a championship, he's looked at, hey, this is the downfall to his career or whatever. But it looks like Kyrie's kind of neutralizing that to some extent. And, it didn't cost the Mavericks tonight. I think most times it doesn't. It's hard to say because, if Luka gets too mad, you're wondering, would he be able to do something to have won the game long term, and if you go back to it or whatever. But it's much easier to talk more positively in this light after the Mavericks win. We'll see. If we're talking here in a few days, next week, if we're talking about how the Mavericks lost the series 4-1 and Luka's complaining, we might be, in a different attitude, but that's what we're talking about now. I want to give a shout out to Adam. Yes, we know, new catchphrase for Adam.
Just here for the shot. I like how that works on multiple levels.
Well, no, Adam Russell, he, oh snap, back to Kenny's prediction of the Stars winning in double overtime, where Adam says, oh snap, and now they have a lot of merch that we're going to be selling, and snap, just showing Adam, snap, that's going to be your famous for snap. But I I'm not mad at Luka right now. I mean, obviously, recency bias, they just won, he did get a technical, but if he gets a technical for complaining and they lose, it's obviously a bigger deal.
It only concerns me in the sense that like it feels like Luka needs a little bit of a babysitter in order to kind of wrangle him in a little bit and make sure he doesn't get too carried away with the refs and things like that. He's obviously gotten these technicals before from arguing with referees. This isn't his first. It won't be his last. But I will say it is a little unfortunate to know that you need to have like a veteran player that Luka respects that kind of helps reel him in. I'd like to think that Luka would figure it out in the near future on how to, I don't know, keep it to himself or whatever it is. But he definitely likes to fly off at the mouth a bit.
I used to think that. I mean, he is a young player, but at this point, it's like, I think he's old enough to. I mean, I'm sure it'll improve over the long term, but he's still that guy.
As long as Kyrie's that leader that we need,
I think Kyrie is very aware of going and grabbing Luka in certain situations, especially when it matters. Luka's been in the Western Conference Finals before, but Kyrie's definitely had this experience, and Kyrie, for whatever reason this year, has kind of been looked at as that calm presence. just like every time you look at him, it's hard to not respect the man and like the man. It's like he's just calm, fun, whatever. I don't know if it's something he's figured out, if a therapist has figured out, if
Right.
just no disrespect to anybody, who sees therapists or whatever, but something's different about Kyrie this year. And I'm still convinced that somehow the Kyrie Maverick marriage is going to end horribly. And I'm hoping it's years from now and after they've won a championship or two.
Yeah.
But he's what Luka needs right now. And you may say, well, Luka still had a technical, but I think Luka may have had another technical if Kyrie doesn't go to him and
Very,
say, hey,
very
dude,
possible.
calm down. Like,
Right. Yeah.
Luka
He needs you.
respects him. Kyrie respects Luka. I mean, we haven't even talked about it, how much credit we need to give Jason Kidd on just managing these personalities with Kyrie and Luka and everything. I think Luka's in a good place where he is what he's going to be. He's going to complain to the refs, and not like we don't all complain to the refs, but
Right.
when we complain, it's not going to affect the actual game. But I trust Jason Kidd and Kyrie to keep him calm to an extent. And yeah, they won by a couple of points, and his technical foul in the end could have cost him the game. I know it didn't happen right at the end, but you're talking about just a couple of points. It might make a difference, long term. But, hopefully, Kenny jumped to this comment. Kind of what we're talking about from a hockey perspective.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I trust the process and the Mavericks that made it this far. I mean, believe it or not, Kidd's the only coach in Mavericks history to take a Mavericks team to the Western Conference Finals multiple times, as hard as that is to believe. Never had a coach take a team to the Western Conference Finals in multiple years. Jason Kidd already
love
making
me some
Mavericks
Jason
history.
Kidd.
I mean, it's a new era in the NBA, and
Definitely.
is what it is.
Definitely. But very exciting. Super pumped. Mavs take game one. We'll shift over to a little bit of hockey real quick. Florida managed to beat the Rangers tonight. I know y'all were just saying you got Stars and Panthers. I'm actually kind of hoping for like a Stars Rangers final. I don't know why.
Really?
But honestly, what I was thinking of, I think it's a little funny, is I think it would be ironic to have Dallas fans have to root against the Rangers.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Right? It would be a little funny. But I don't know why. Plus, also, we were talking about this earlier. I think the main reason I'm rooting for the Rangers, Kenny had brought this to our attention, but no team that's won the President's Cup has made it to the finals, I believe, if I remember correctly. So rooting for the Rangers just a little bit to kind of change it up.
And if the Rangers and Stars make it, that's the top two teams, correct? I know they don't do the traditional 1 through 8 seed or 1 through 8 seed in the playoffs, but the Stars are more or less the 1 seed in the West, and the Rangers were the 1 seed in the East.
I think so.
You'd have the 2-1.
I think so. Kenny, tell us if we're wrong, but yeah, I believe they're the 2 top seeds.
You don't see that very often. Like, I think back when you had the original seedings similar to the NBA, you had a lot of 8 seeds beating 1 seeds more often. For whatever reason, I just think it was more evenly matched. I mean, once you get to, I'm not a huge hockey fan. I don't claim to know a bunch about hockey, but I do know that the Stanley Cup playoffs are a completely different animal. Not that every sport isn't different when you get to the playoffs, but the Stanley Cup playoffs are just ridiculously more intense, not only for the fans but for the players, and it gets to a different level. To me, I think it's somewhere, it's more selfishness where in the NBA, I'm hoping it's Mavs and we'll get to Kenny's comment in a minute. It's Mavs and Pacers just because Boston's better. I don't know that. I mean, I know the Rangers had a better record than the Panthers, but I feel like it'd be easier. No disrespect to Florida Panthers fans. No, I know y'all have a great team, great organization, but I feel like it'd be easier to go on the road and play in Miami, right? To play in Miami than to Madison Square Gardens to play the New York Rangers. I'm just assuming. That's more.
I hadn't necessarily thought about that, but you're probably right. Madison Square Garden is a tough one to move into.
In basketball and hockey, I may be wrong. Kenny, oddly enough, the Blackhawks Cup win was also the last time two number one seeds met in the Cup finals. You mean where they could fill a watch party in Miami? I mean, that's true too. I mean, Miami's not the best. Any Florida team, I think, in general, is not the best fan base.
Just crazy. They don't have. They've got all the teams, but they don't seem to have the.
They have the talent. Look at the Rays. The Rays have. Yeah. I know they haven't won a World Series, but the Rays may have been the most consistent team in baseball in the last decade. I think it's most people in Florida are.
Tom Brady probably brought the most fans to Tampa Bay ever.
I think most people in Florida are transplants being retired, because I know there's like a big New York fan base. In Florida, you might have more Stars fans from Miami than Panthers fans. Yeah, I don't know. I know baseball, it's a big deal. Football, to an extent, I know they have a lot of Dolphins fans.
Plenty of football fans out there, yeah.
But yeah, on the baseball side, I bet you have more Yankees fans in Florida than anything, whether it's people, people from New York or from the Northeast retiring to go in New York, in Florida, but I don't know that to be a fact. It just seems that way. No shot at Florida, but I'm sure they feel the same way. I'm sure Florida feels the same way. They'd rather play the Stars than Edmonton, because there might be more. It might be a more rabid fan base to have to go and play on the road in Canada than in Dallas.
Yeah,
which you would. I mean, to be fair, you would be. No complaints. I think you have a valid point. But man, Dallas Stars fans are pretty crazy. I'm just gonna say I've been to quite a few Stars games, and it's giving me a more love for the hockey.
Oh yeah, we play Pantera.
Exactly. I think
every game.
I don't know if it's a hockey thing or as much as
I
think Dallas fans are a different breed, for better or for worse. That we're kind of crazy. The Stars have an electric arena. Love watching those fans. I mean,
for sure. I love it. But
I'm not going to be Josh Hamilton and be like, "Hey, this is a football town, not a baseball town." Whereas, but I mean, Edmonton is in Canada. It's like trying to say high school football's not as big in Texas as it is anywhere else.
Right.
I'll see that Edmonton probably has crazier fans than Dallas Stars fans.
At the very least, more passionate fans. Yeah.
More passionate, probably more knowledgeable to an extent. Yeah. I'm not trying to say anything controversial here. I'm sure we have Stars fans that are way more passionate than your average Canadian hockey fan, but as a whole, they're probably a little better. But there's nothing wrong with that. We do what we can do. I think Stars fans are awesome in general. Way more knowledgeable than I am. I better stop talking before I get too controversial here.
No, you're good. We'll talk about this Game 6 a little bit. This Game 6 win over the Avs. Matt Duchene's goalie interference in the first overtime calls back that goal. He is the man that comes back on the rebound to score the goal winner in double overtime. What was that? It was like 1:30 in the morning when that game finally ended.
Dude, it's...
what did you think about that goalie interference? It didn't look like interference to me. It didn't look like he was in the blue paint at all. From what I saw, it looked like he got pushed into the goalie. Thoughts?
My bias came through, and I thought that was a ridiculous call. And I'm one to have empathy for other people. I try to, in all aspects of my life, think of it from the other side. But when they went to that intermission, and basically everybody but one guy, I can't remember the guy's name, but everybody but one guy said that was a BS call. Yeah. And the guy that was saying, like, no, I get it, and he couldn't give a reason why, I'm like, okay, I understand. I thought I understood the rule, and I'm like, I guess I don't. But the announcers were saying the rule, and I'm like, well, I think I understand the rule. And it came out later that, well, word for word, his ass was in the blue line or over the blue paint.
Oh, God.
And I'm thinking, I don't think it doesn't extend up. But
Right.
he was close, and they said he definitely did interfere one way or the other. I'm like, I'm not disagreeing. He did make, as interfere, using the word interfere for, he did affect the play, which, hell, if you skate in front of it doesn't matter how close you are, it does affect him. But if your skate's not into it, you're out of the, again, I'm being biased, but you're out of the blue paint.
Right. That's what I thought.
And I honestly, to me, when I was watching that, I thought this is going to be a Des Cottet moment if the Stars don't win this series.
Yeah, that's what
I thought. If they don't win Game 6, it's over because of that call. Luckily, they won Game 6, and it's a big, it's just a thing we're going to talk about. Where after this playoff run, we're never going to talk about it again. But I think their reasoning for it was the call on the ice. You have to have indisputable evidence, which, like, you do have indisputable. You didn't touch it, but I think they were like, well, you can't make that call after the fact in the series. And I'm thinking, well, that's a dumb rule to have ahead of the time. Like, you're making the choice ahead before making the call, thinking we can't end the series on this. One way or the other, if you made the wrong call, you should make the correct call. It's going to suck, one, for Stars fans, especially for the guy who scored the goal. It's like, I didn't really get a celebration the correct way, but I think he would have traded that for make the correct call on the ice. It's a subject for a whole nother podcast about trying to protect referees and, hey, we don't want to insult them too much or whatever.
Right.
When you have to explain to yourself, hey, because the call on the ice was this, it doesn't matter what the call on the ice was. It was obvious he didn't get in the blue paint. I'm not, being a novice hockey fan, making this call on my own. I base this off of other hockey experts that have the exact same thinking that I do, that it was a BS call. You should have just made the correction. It would have been controversial, but I've seen Colorado fans saying, hey, fuck, y'all won the game on that call.
I totally
agree. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, in that particular situation, you're going to end up with controversy no matter what. The upside of this particular situation is that the Stars still managed to score the game winner in double overtime. If the Avalanche would have scored and won after calling that goal off, I think you have a much different conversation on your hands because of the level of controversy. But because the Stars score and still win in double overtime, this becomes a non-issue. And honestly, it was the best thing that could have happened for the refs as far as people not necessarily talking about it. But I agree with you in the sense that it seemed like a BS call, and they were trying to protect the referees in making a bad call or something like that, and they're just like, play on. But to me, it seemed like he wasn't in the blue paint. Any contact that he did happen to make with the goalie was caused by a defender pushing into him and stuff. So it felt like that definitely should have been a goal, and the whole point of the review should have named it a goal, in my opinion. But again, this becomes a non-issue after the Stars end up scoring the game winner. I definitely think ESPN and everybody else is talking about this a whole lot more if the Avalanche end up winning that game. And I totally agree with you in the sense that if the Avalanche end up winning that game, I don't know that the Stars managed to win Game 7. It puts them in a very bad situation, and especially morally, coming off of your game winner. And it almost kind of reminds me of if you ever heard Tim Kennedy talk about his last fight and how he thought he won and he adrenaline dumped, and then he ends up having to do another round against I can't remember who it was now, and then he ends up getting knocked out, and it's like that's kind of how I feel it would have ended up happening for the Stars. But luckily, that's not the way it played out. So.
Yeah, I thought that was going to happen for the Stars. In the double overtime.
I was
in
super worried
the second
about
overtime. I was thinking where, in the moment, I guess it was better that they called the goal off rather than if they would have reviewed it and taken it away from them, because they didn't really. I don't think they really celebrated it and had that relief moment for more than a second when he called the goal off really quick. But yeah, I was totally worried that they were not going to. Yeah, I mean, I know you'd like to say, hey, you're an athlete, you're a professional athlete, you should get over that or whatever, but it makes a difference when one way or the other that it's
for sure, especially that late in the game.
Yeah, I mean, being up 3-2, I mean, they were, up 3-1. They should have won the game before, or they felt like they should have won the game before. Kenny, you guys got to. I mean, I trust you, Kenny. I
trust you. Yeah,
I've never disagreed with one of your calls. I mean, I don't know what you're referring to that we don't trust your calls,
right? But all right, so
I've definitely said this 100% every time. When I jumped on your podcast, it was like, hey, I'm a Stars fan, but I don't know what the hell I'm talking about compared to you guys. So
I'll tell you about my passion.
I defer to you, Kenny, 100%. No matter if you tell me something I don't even believe, I might question myself, even if it's a lie.
Right. All right, so let's push into this game one for the Dallas Stars against the Edmonton Oilers tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. Just throwing out a couple of stats here. I think the Stars look really good coming into this series. We obviously got the extra day of rest. I'll start with the bad-ish stat that I have here for the Stars. The Stars are the least penalized team. They're also the worst penalty killers.
Okay.
So, I mean, it makes me feel good in the sense that, like, we're not exactly committing a lot of penalties. We're not putting ourselves at that disadvantage of playing a man down. Unfortunately, when we do play man down, we play very poorly. So that's obviously a concern of mine.
Yeah.
The upside here, kind of flip side of the coin, I guess. Ottinger is averaging 2.27 goals against so far in the playoffs. He's a 914 save percentage, so 91% save percentage. Guy's killing it, an absolute wall out there. I want to say when we started the playoffs, Ottinger's goals against was closer to 2.8 is what I think it was. So he's definitely down, playing really well. How do you feel about the Stars headed into this series against the Oilers?
If you take regular season into account, which you can say means nothing, what are they, 2-0-1 against the Oilers? That was just the one overtime loss. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's the correct. The Stars are the better team. They should win. They have the rest. It's like everything's pointing to the Stars winning this series.
Everything's in their favor.
Obviously, Edmonton has Connor McDavid, probably going to be the best player on the ice. There's a few Stars players you could argue, but I think Connor McDavid is going to be the guy. That's what the Stars have to deal with. I have the Stars winning in 6 games. I see Kenny. Kenny's similar.
Kenny also saying Stars in 6.
And the Stars do have playoff experience. I mean, going back to the bubble year they made it to the Stanley Cup final with Ottinger. I believe they missed the playoffs the next year. Then the year after that, I mean, last year the year after that I think they played first round game. I want to say they made it to Game 7 in the first round. Last year they obviously made it to the Western Conference Finals. This year as well, they have a lot of playoff experience. Kenny's correct. I mean, they're veterans. They have a good mix of veterans with playoff experience and really young talent.
No, I totally agree. Not to mention the fact that, like you just said, this is our second year here to the Western Conference Finals. I think we got a chip on our shoulder. I think we got the lineup. Johnston, Ben, Pavelski, these guys are playing good hockey right now. Just two-way hockey in the faces of their defenders, like making shots, getting rebounds. I'm loving everything that I'm seeing out of the Stars. I got them in 6 games as well. I mean, honestly, I this is one of the best Stars teams I've seen in a long time. I have also said that I've only been, as much of a Stars fan as I am now for like the last 5 years or so. But looking at these guys, they're playing just really great two-way hockey. They're obviously struggling a little bit with the penalty kills. I got them here at 72%. So they can obviously improve there just a little bit. But Kenny even saying that the Oilers have like the shallower bench and the Stars are, more equipped to do this. So I think it's all Stars from here on out. We'll see what happens with the finals. I'm the only one, it sounds like, rooting for the Rangers to make it to the finals against the Stars. But Stars Panthers, and I think we all agree about 6 games for these Stars. All right.
I'm one to one last point in the Stars. I'm one I mentioned earlier. Those caveats in sports that I enjoy, where the Stars definitely do have a chip on their shoulder coming from last year. We mentioned earlier. I know Kenny's mentioned it on Facebook that the Stars are the only team in NHL history to beat the last 2 Stanley Cup champions in the playoffs, beating Colorado from 2 years ago and Vegas from last year. If you're a Stars fan, every time the Stars have made it to the Stanley Cup final, they have beat the Colorado Avalanche in the playoff. The 3 previous times in 2000 and 1999 and in 2020 when they made it in the bubble, I think it was 2020. It's just setting up for the Stars beat the last 2 championships they beat the Colorado Avalanche. It's just setting them up to make the Stanley Cup final.
I love those stats. It's my kind of thing right there. All right, we'll finally wrap up here. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Mike Tyson Jake Paul presser that happened on Thursday. Mike Tyson, 58 years old, hasn't had a boxing match since 2005, I think it was. Jake Paul, 27. Kid thinks he's absolutely going to kill Mike Tyson. I think he said the words. He said, "I'm going to knock this old man out." Tyson also said his own little bit of trash talk. I think he said something along the lines of, "I'm going to fuck him up" or something. But I don't know. I feel like I go back and forth on this fight quite a bit. I would love to see Mike Tyson just absolutely destroy Jake Paul and end his boxing career, if that's what you even want to call what this is. But thoughts? What did you think?
To go back to your point that Mike Tyson hasn't fought since 2005, I want to say he had like a celebrity fight a few years ago. But on that point, it was an official fight. I know this fight has been deemed an official, like it's going to go against their records.
Yeah, it's only 8 rounds, 2 minutes each, not the traditional 10 rounds, 3 minutes, but it is going to count on their pro record. Yeah.
What are you gonna say? I mean, in that moment, you look when you had Mayweather and gosh, I can't. What's the dude's name? MMA fighter. When it was Mayweather, gosh, we had an entire show about this back in the day.
Oh, Nick Diaz? You talking about?
No, the Irish MMA fighter. What's his name?
Oh, McGregor.
Yes.
McGregor.
Excuse me. Conor McGregor. They were both going back and forth, which I said was BS. They're just doing it to build up the fight. They don't really care.
Yeah.
The Pauls have done the same thing when they have prepped for fights. They're just saying whatever. I don't think it was it Logan Paul who fought Mayweather? Whichever one it was, the one who wasn't fighting, I think it was Jake Paul wasn't fighting. He said, "Oh, I mean, it's ridiculous. He just stood in the ring for how many ever rounds with the world's best fighter or whatever." And I'm like, he didn't though. He got his ass kicked. Whatever. Like, you're gonna say what you're gonna say. I think everyone's saying the right things. Everyone's saying, hey, I'm going to kick his ass. I'm going to do whatever. I want Mike Tyson to kick his ass, but I think what's going to happen is, they're going to tell each other one way or the other, hey, you're going to make a ton of money. Just make sure this goes the distance. Make sure this goes all the way. Like, nobody's going to get knocked out. 100%. Nobody's going to do whatever. Like, I think that's what's going to happen. It's going to be disappointing. I think it's going to be a split decision, whoever wins, whatever. But
Jake Paul.
No one's going to get knocked out. Honestly, I think Mike Tyson will win, but I think Mike Tyson's agreeing to this, to the fact that he's going to be deemed the winner, the same way as Mayweather was deemed the winner by decision back then. I think they're going to say, hey, Mike, you're going to be the winner. Just make sure this goes the distance so our boy can say
everybody's going to get paid.
One of the world's best fighters.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, because I thought the same thing about the Nick Diaz fight when Jake Paul fought Nate Diaz. It felt like Nate Diaz was just dancing around the ring the whole time, messing with him, whatever, throwing a few punches here and there. But it definitely ended up going the distance, and they just everybody got paid, everybody went home, whatever. I feel like a lot of these are just in fact money grabs. The one thing that gives me hope about this particular fight is that I would really, really like to think, and I'm speculating here, but I'd really, really like to think that like Mike Tyson is bothered by this kid, coming into boxing. And it's like, I'm willing to concede that boxing is not what it was at its peak in like the 60s and 70s and things like that.
It was the most popular sport in the United States at the time.
Right. But it feels like what Jake Paul has been doing over the last few years with these fights and everything is like taking advantage of basically like his popularity and pay-per-view costs, and then just raking in that money in that sense. And I would like to think, I would like to hope that Mike Tyson is ready to like step into this ring with this kid and just put some punishment down on this kid. The thing that worries me about this, Tyson's 58 years old, man, and he's openly admitted, he said in this presser that like training is going fine, but he's sore. He's crazy sore, and it's because he's older and he hasn't worked out like this, and he hasn't fought in a long time. So I'm a little concerned for him in the sense that, like, Jake Paul is a young man. I have no doubt that he can hit and hit hard. I'm not gonna say it's anything like what Tyson could hit in his prime or even now, but I don't know, man. I'm pretty torn on this fight. I'm rooting for Tyson for sure. I would really love for him to end this whole Jake Paul boxing career.
I'm for sure. I'm for sure on Tyson's side. I'm not going to say rigged. I think that's a strong word, but I do think they have some agreement. Well, like you go to Mayweather and McGregor, it went the distance. They said, "Hey, this is I want to say that was a split decision. I don't know. Maybe Mayweather won it outright, but for sure Mayweather, Paul, same difference. I think I heard a rumor that they were holding Paul up just to go the whole way. Whatever.
Yeah.
I think
I thought the same thing. But
I'm not saying that Mike Tyson has been told he's going to win, but they're like, don't knock him out. Come on, You keep it interesting, you're going to get paid. I don't know. I wouldn't hold it past anybody. Everybody's talking about how NBA is rigged, the NFL is rigged, whatever. I disagree on those points. But boxing, if something's rigged, it's more close to boxing than anything. This is going the distance no matter what. I think Mike Tyson's going to get the edge. Not because he's better than Logan Paul. I think he's way better. Like, I think straight up, he'd still knock his ass out. But
yeah.
I think it's going to go the distance. Is going to be split decision Mike Tyson, because that's the way they want it to go. Nobody's going to get embarrassed. Jake Paul can still say, hey, I held it with one of the best boxers.
One of the best, yeah.
20 years later, but still one of the best boxers. And unfortunately, that's the way it is. I think, I don't care how old Mike Tyson is. Just, you don't forget how to throw a punch. Like, if you say, hey, this is going to go 10 rounds, I'm like, okay, Jake Paul probably has a better shot than Mike Tyson. But if you tell me they're just going to step into the ring, I think Mike Tyson has a way better shot at knocking Jake Paul out. I don't care how much training you do.
Yeah.
It's Mike Tyson. I'm sure you're a way better boxer than I'll ever be, than most 99% of the world. But You're
All
going.
right, hang on, I
against
gotta
Mike
pee so
Tyson.
bad. You keep
Yeah, no
talking.
difference. No, I keep talking. There's no way that like let's have a legitimate conversation. Mike Tyson is way better of a boxer than Jake Paul will ever be. No shots against Jake Paul. He's trained way more than me. I'm not going to step in the ring with Jake Paul. He would, I might, if you told me to last one round, I might be able to run away long enough to last one round with Jake Paul. But there's a difference there's a difference between being one of the 1% best boxers in the world compared to every other person in the world, and being the best boxer compared to all the other boxers in the world. Mike Tyson's going to knock Jake Paul out. If it's a legitimate fight, Mike Tyson knocks Jake Paul out in the first couple of rounds because that's what he has to do. But I'm not convinced that's what they're going to let it. This is a big entertainment ploy. I don't think the whoever's financing this that they're telling Mike Tyson don't end it that quick. There's no way.
No, I totally agree with that. I would imagine. I mean, especially with Mike's style and all his power and everything, I would imagine Mike comes out swinging, and I'd love to see it. Oh man, I think the whole thing with Jake Paul is it's a publicity stunt. I think he's just using his popularity to sell tickets to boxing matches. And I mean, I know you're not willing to use the word, but I'm willing to use the word. Every one of these fights has felt rigged. It's felt like it's been set up to, like you said, go the distance. Everybody wins. Everybody goes home. It's a big payday. And I don't know. I can't necessarily hate anybody for making money, but
I know it's
the way he's going about doing this and making kind of a mockery, in my opinion, of boxing and what it is I don't know, what I hope is driving Mike Tyson to, step into the ring and make this.
They've gone one step further than they have with Mayweather, McGregor, Mayweather, Paul, where, hey, it's an official fight. Nobody cares. Tell me, I know it's a safe pick to say it's going to go the distance. Tyson's going to win. I think that's the only way Tyson agrees to do it. I think Paul can go out and say, hey, I went the distance with one of the best fighters. Tell me I'm wrong. After the fight, we'll come on it. Maybe we'll have a live show during the fight. I have no idea how we do this, but I'll go on there and admit I was wrong if it doesn't turn out the way it is. But I'm telling you, it's going to go the distance and Tyson's going to win. That's how I think it's rigged. Maybe I come on here and tell you how I was wrong and that it's not rigged one way or the other. But if one of them gets knocked out, I will admit it's not rigged, because nobody's going to admit, or no one's gonna accept, hey, I'm going to go in and get knocked out.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And what Kenny's saying here, I'm not necessarily trying to dog them for their athleticism or anything. I've seen some of their training videos. They're athletic guys. They're young. They're fit. I mean,
no,
it is.
If anybody take any professional fighter not at that level, and Jake Paul would kick his ass.
Sure, but I'm also going to say that there's a big difference between what Jake Paul is doing in boxing and what every other boxer is doing in the boxing world. You know what I mean? There's a big difference here, and there's a difference between dedicating your life and training to be a fighter, whether it's MMA, jiu-jitsu, boxing, Olympic boxing, wrestling, whatever it is, right? And a whole other beast when you're a YouTube star and you're hey, what's the next publicity stunt to help us make some money? And it's oh, I enjoy boxing. I do boxing to stay in shape. I go to the gym, whatever. And it's oh, you know what I mean? That's what this feels like. That's what this feels like it was born of. And ultimately we're not getting to see any real boxing competitions. We got to see Ali and Mayweather and Pacquiao and these other legendary fighters.
Yeah, I'm not a huge boxing fan. I think Pacquiao and Mayweather was the last time I really focused on boxing, where they eventually fought, but it was like too late in both of their careers. But like, this is a big insult to boxing in general, that this is going to be the big draw. Some wannabe boxer, again, yes, he's probably top 1% in the entire population in boxing, but he's not, he's fighting a 58-year-old has been former heavyweight champion. And
That's
the
a good
fact,
idea, Kenny.
the fact that Jake Paul is not fighting a current champion boxer, or one, like, excuse my ignorance, I'm not a huge boxing fan, fighting, one of the big boxers. Canelo's a good example, Kenny, that he's all in it for the money and the publicity, because he's not fighting any current boxer. He's fighting Mike Tyson, who's going to be a bigger name in boxing than anybody who's ever, who's boxed in the last 30 years.
Right.
Outside
honestly,
of Mayweather.
My only concern about Tyson is his age. He's openly admitted he's, pretty sore from the workouts and things like that. I also can't tell you necessarily like how intense his workouts have been since he kind of retired from fighting. I would imagine he's still working out pretty regularly, but he's not necessarily, doing super high level intensity workouts. He's not doing a whole lot of like HIIT training. He's not doing, like a lot of the extra boxing training where he's throwing punches as hard as he possibly can and things like that. So coming into like a new, like active boxer working regiment, I'm sure is, doing its own number on his body. And, we're only a month out from this fight. So I would like to think that he will be feeling better come that time. But, he's openly admitted, like, and I don't expect a 58-year-old man to be able to work out the way he did when he was 18, 19, 20 years old and just laying fools out, Like, I know he's not the same guy. I mean, we say Mike Tyson, and I feel like a lot of people necessarily like kind of get that lost in translation where we're saying like, oh, it's Mike Tyson. It's not Mike Tyson in his early 20s when he was an Olympic boxer and just,
even his 30s.
Yeah. Now he's 58 and he's, he hasn't been working out the same way that he used to and all this stuff for, I couldn't necessarily tell you how long. But I do absolutely expect him to come in here and put some hurt on Jake Paul. And honestly, just the flip side of the coin, like the other argument here, right? I don't necessarily think this is the greatest publicity stunt for Jake Paul to do anyway, because let's just fantasize for a second that he does in fact like beat or knock out Mike Tyson. Do you think that's a positive? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think anybody's going to take a whole lot of positivity.
I don't think
Jake
so.
Paul beat
I mean,
Mike Tyson. He was like, he's 58.
I think it's, to me, it depends what you're trying to do, what your goal is. I mean, Jake Paul's going to get paid from this no matter what.
No matter what.
If Mike Tyson gets knocked out, there's not a lot of slack on Mike Tyson. He's 58 years old. Jake Paul's going to be like, well, you knocked out a 50-year-old. Props to you. You're a pretty good boxer. If Mike Tyson knocks out Jake Paul's never going to live it down. Mike Tyson's going to be like, good job.
And Mike Tyson's legend grows.
If this is a legitimate fight, I think Mike Tyson has 3 rounds tops to knock out Jake Paul. If he doesn't, he's just trying to survive. I'm
I kind of
sure
agree with that. If he
Jake
doesn't get
Paul
it done
has the endurance to go the whole way. It's Mike Tyson, like, dude, knock him out in the first round. That's what your goal is, to knock him out in the first round. If you don't, just protect yourself, because you can train as hard as you want, but at a certain age, you can only keep up with so much endurance,
Right. Yeah.
All right. Does Tyson bite off something of Paul's if he starts losing? No, I had the same thought of Conor McGregor.
Many drugs as he used to either.
Well, I think I thought the same thing of Conor McGregor. Is like, if he's just losing, does he just take Mayweather down in some UFC move? And
I thought that, yeah, and he almost did.
But he signed a contract saying he can't do that, or he forfeits his winnings or something.
Yeah, he definitely tried to tie him up a couple of times, though.
I'm sure there's something similar to Mike Tyson where he can't just like go crazy, and Mike Tyson, I think, does he's not as wealthy as you think he is, so he's definitely gonna
for
be
sure,
forward
and
to make money here.
Yeah, and kind of the last point I want to throw out there too. I don't necessarily know how many like podcast interviews you've seen of Mike Tyson in like the last few years and everything, but Mike Tyson has like openly said that like one of the big reasons he retired from boxing was because he doesn't like the monster that he becomes when he trains and steps into the ring, because he is a monster. And man, if there's anything that like a boxer could say that would like intimidate me to stay out of the ring with them, it's somebody like Mike Tyson saying that like I'm a monster when I step into that ring. I'm someone I do not like I don't like it. And so he got away from that, and since then he's been really kind of like this gentle soul, like really kind of mellow, whatever. It's been crazy to hear about all the drugs and stuff that he was doing during that time, which I'm sure also kind of fueled that monster that he's talked about. But man, like just the idea of stepping into the ring with Mike Tyson, really arguably at any age, intimidates me in the sense that like I know Mike Tyson's not going to get in this ring and take this lightly. The man's going to I hope to see this monster, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm not going to ask you now, but I'll think of a few questions like would you rather type questions of if you could survive against Mike Tyson as we get closer to the fight. I mean, we still have a couple of months here, but yeah, go ahead. I'm not going to keep you much longer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, McGregor coming back to the UFC. I did just see that was it Poirier? I think, yeah, Dustin Poirier rejected the fight proposal though, so McGregor's still searching for an opponent, but he's supposed to be making his comeback.
Jake Paul might be available.
We'll go ahead and wrap this up. It's been a pretty long episode of the Sports Page this week, but definitely proud of the Mavs for making it to the wrong one. What am I trying to do here?
Oh no, man. Or no. Gosh, this is backwards. This is killing me, man. 1-0. 1-0.
I know, right? There it is. I was trying to do it with both of us, but whatever. Anyway, Mavs steal game one. Hopefully the Stars will do the same thing tomorrow night at the American Airlines Center, 7:30. We will definitely be tuned into that. I'm also hoping that maybe on Saturday I can bring back the Gambler stream. I got a kind of temporary laptop fixed up, so maybe I can get that going again. I know. We started that. We did like 2 episodes and then had to quit doing it because my laptop crapped out. So hopefully we'll be bringing that back soon. Make sure to check out Kenny, aka Reckless, on the Puck Off stream here on Peak One, as well as Ashton, Tony,
the lead off, and Landon.
Landon on the Saturday morning podcast, The Lead Off. So drop us a like, drop us a follow. Feel free to comment any agreements or disagreements you might have on any of our videos. We love to interact with you guys.
Please disagree with us. Please disagree with us.
Yeah, make us think something different. We're not all very good at this. So
appreciate you, Kenny, Korri, Adam, everybody who
everybody
was
hanging
in the
out.
comments, but y'all agreed with us way too much. Come on. We need some haters back out. I know we have them. Don't be scared. Jump in the comments.
Yeah, but we love hanging out. We appreciate every one of you that's been here. For this week's episode of the Sports Page, I'm Dan Boyer, aka Neon Super Shrimp. Ashton Nix. We'll see y'all next week. Thanks, guys.
Cowboys suck. Look at that. This guy. Of course, getting that